Hi team, welcome to sort of our next exploration into Tableau. So now we're going to be looking at sort of a financial wellness analysis, and we're just getting started with this. I'll let you read over the learning objectives. I think it'll become a little bit more clear as we go through and talk through the overview, what you're kind of expecting and things of that nature. Make sure you have this submitted to our appropriate folder, which I'll have below. And this one will be unique in that there's not going to be an instructor replica. So I'm going to give you more time. This will be one of the shorter videos that you can kind of build your own to, again, differentiate yourself from others. And we'll build on this with future assignments as well. So let's talk a little bit about the overview. So you're going to be now a senior data analyst for the American Financial Advisory. It's a national financial planning firm that specializes in helping individuals achieve financial wellness across different life stages. Your company has commissioned a comprehensive study using anonymized demographic and financial data from 2,000 clients across the United States, along with their credit portfolio information. So we're actually going to have two data sets that I'll talk about here in just a second. The challenge, right? So the FA executive team is preparing for their 2025 strategic planning session and really need to sort of drive some data-enabled insights to understanding general differences in financial behavior, identifying potential geographic markets with the highest growth potential, developing targeted financial products and services, and then creating some sort of risk models for lending decisions. Now, I don't expect you to do all of those things. That's a lot. We're going to kind of pick one or maybe two and go down that avenue. So what your role is going to be sort of create a comprehensive data visualization dashboard that sort of tells the story of the American financial wellness. We're going to focus on how different generations manage debt, credit, retirement planning, etc. It sort of mirrors this actual business intelligence projects in the financial services industries, developing skills directly applicable to financial analysis, business intelligence, market research, strategic planning across industries. And I'm going to add a piece here. So you'll then conclude your analysis by building one explanatory dashboard around one compelling insight or pattern that you believe is valuable to the AFA leadership based upon these kind of challenges that they have. So you're going to have two things: an exploratory dashboard that helps us understand the financial wellness of the group and the data that we have that we can kind of play around with from the leadership, and then that explanatory visual. And I have that kind of down here with a little bit more specific to help kind of guide you. So in terms of required materials, we're going to use Excel and Tableau here. So hopefully you have all of those. And then now we're actually going to link two different, let me see, I want to ignore this, two different data sets. They are the same people, but we have two different types of data. So this should be directly below the assignment. Okay, so the first one, you got this credit debit card profile. It's got sort of the user ID, card index, card brand, number of cards issued, debit, expiration date, card number, so some very unique data, different types of like when they've opened their accounts and things of that nature. Then the second one is more about the actual user, so you can have their person, their age, what age they plan to retire, their birth year, month, gender, lots of interesting things that you can utilize. So we're going to have two of these that we go through and spend a lot of time with. In terms of evaluation, two components. Number one, go through and complete what I have. I'm just going to help you get the data kind of cleaned up, show you a few more tips and tricks as we go through, and then really just help you get started with sort of your own individual design. So component two, where you'll spend most of your time is, so this explanatory and exploratory dashboard. So you're going to design a professional dashboard. You could do dashboards, but actually let's just do a dashboard that's suitable for C-level executives. So this is where you're going to demonstrate your analytical skills by creating an exploratory dashboard Again, I only want one, so let's not make you all do too much. That includes some of the following. It doesn't need all of them, but I just wanted to give you as many ideas as possible. So some key performance indicator summary cards, things like understanding how many clients we have, what their average income is, average FICO score, debt to income ratio, general insights panel, so differences between Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, which we'll have to create these, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Heat maps that talk about things across the state, like general client concentrations, income patterns, score distributions with debt ratio analysis, allow filtering by things like generation, state, income range, FICO. So this is going to be really, really exploratory. Again, it's meant to be sort of this overarching tool that we can, as the executives, can understand the data a little bit better and kind of play around with. And hopefully you'll see things as you do that, because I want you then to create a separate Tableau dashboard, i.e. distinct from the one above, that can stand alone as a presentation tool. And this is going to be that instead of exploratory, you're going to have explanatory. So you're going to identify one compelling insight or pattern. Again, there could be hundreds of these, so I could see a different one from every student. I could see similar ones if you're collaborating a little bit, but transform this into a focused explanatory dashboard that tells a clear data-driven story. And I have some basic requirements based upon what we've gone through. Communicate one clear message. So we're gonna start being focused, right? Millennials represent an example, right? Millennials represent the highest risk score. And again, these are made up. I haven't looked into the data. I'm just trying to give you examples. It should be executive sort of ready design, i.e. clean, professional layout with maybe annotations. There shouldn't be a ton of interactivity because again, you're trying to focus them. Even if it has 0, I would be fine with that. And just sort of the logical visual hierarchy that can be understood in easy within 2 to 3 minutes, right? If it's faster than that, fantastic. Please make sure it does have a navigation link so I can get back to this exploratory dashboard and vice versa. So I should be able to click back and forth between these two or use story points. So you can use your buttons or a story feature. I have no preference. It's up to you. This dashboard should be polished enough to just directly give it to the AFA executive team without any explanation. You shouldn't have to use any time or discussion to go through and do it. And we'll talk more about these as we kind of go through, but I have your basic quality standards here: professional formatting, error-free, be consistent with the color scheme, visual hierarchy, clear descriptive titles, labels, no grid lines. Let's go with no grid lines unless clear reasoning behind their use. Again, I have different ones that you can look at. So it can help the team by understanding different patterns and just different, again, ways to get you started thinking, right? How do they differ? Different geographic, different utilization. So there's literally 1,000 different avenues that you can go down. So it's just meant to help. In terms of submission, again, I already talked about this, but there is no instructor, right? You're not gonna have to prove to me anything. All I want is you'll submit a link to the appropriate Advancing in Tableau folder, and then you're going to make sure it's saved to the exploratory dashboard and then links to the explanatory dashboard. So I'm only going to need to see 2 things ideally. If you do have questions, again, post, come to office hours, send emails, things of that nature. I think now let's just jump in and let's start. I have some things I want to clean up or show you early on in Excel, and then we'll quickly transition into Tableau. So let's do a little work in our Excel files here. So I'm going to be in the personal financial demographic data. I'm again always going to start by just getting things set up such that I have things that I like and organized in a way that I would want it. And so I look across this, and I've done this before, just kind of seeing things that I like, dislike, things that I may need. and just some interesting things that I kind of want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to also have birth month, but I want it to be the actual name, which can be a little bit tough in Excel. But what we're going to do is basically it's later on if I want to visualize this by January, February, March, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, so I don't have to let people think about it. I could change it in Tableau as aliases. I could use a bunch of if commands or ifs, which we'll see here in just a second. But there's also ways that dates are particularly interesting. It does take a little kind of back end research to work through this, but you can do a lot of things with dates. And so I can take this and turn it into it. And it's going to use a couple different commands. So the first thing is I'm going to tell it text because I want to convert a value to a specific text. And then I'm going to tell it that I'm working with a date, right? So then I have date and returns the number that represents the date through this. And then I'm going to use a placeholder. So the year here doesn't really matter just because I don't care about 1966. I already have the month. If it were like a particular day, I would need this. So I'll do 2025. Doesn't really matter. And then the month, this is the important one. It's this one right here. And then comma the day, I'm just going to use a placeholder for 1 because I don't really care about it. And then I'll close that parenthesis so that my date is done. Then I'll do comma and then what text do we want? So we're going to tell it a format. And again, this is just me looking it up. I know if I type in MMMM, it will do the full name back. It could shorthand, but we might as well get the longhand. So I'll hit enter. I didn't close my parenthesis and it's yelling at me. So then I'll do that. I check November. That works. Double click this down. And I have everything that kind of looks and goes through. All right, so I like that. It just gives me some categorical stuff to play with. So I'll copy and paste the values as I go through there. Generally, I like to have city and state together. It tends to make my life a little bit easier in Tableau just because there are a lot of cities named like Lexington in 8 different states. And so I can kind of build my hierarchy here. Again, you can do this in Tableau, but when I can, I like to go ahead and put it through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do first off concat, which just puts things together. And so I'm going to do this and then a comma, and then I want it to be split by a comma. So I'm going to do in quotes, a comma, a space, close the quote, and then a comma here. And so what that's going to do is it's going to have the city and then a comma with a space and then the state. I hit enter. I see it, I go through, I double click it down. There are also different commands where you can like format things correctly. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Let's say equals, I'm going to do proper. Let's see if it does this. So if you want it to not have the upper capitalization, you could do that. But for us, it's not really going to matter that much. But if it does bug you, you can use the proper command. Let's see, I want to build sort of the debt to income ratio as we go through, because right now I have this interesting stuff. This will be great. I'll be very, very precise in Tableau, same thing with zip code. But I have date and I have income. I also have the location, the per capita income in that area. But I don't actually have the debt to income ratio here. So again, I could use a calculated field in Tableau to do this. Where it's just divided, but debt, we'll see, dash to income. I like to also do it here just because I can see it happen and make sure it works. And so here I'll do equals, and it's just as simple as the debt divided by the yearly income as we do that. And then because it was structured around 2 currencies, it thinks this is a currency. We do have to go up and tell it, hey, this is not. And in this case, this is bad, right? 214% debt to income ratio as we go through. So I'm again going to copy this, right click, paste the values, just because I want it to be kind of see the full number here as we go through. And remember, in the data, this number is actually 2.14 or 1377777. If I were doing any math with it, which I'm not going to do up in this case. Let's see, other things we may want to do. We have our per capita income per zip code. Another thing that kind of the report asks for is a potential breakdown based upon um, like these categories, which I don't actually see that in either data set that I'm working with, right? It doesn't actually have um, those various kind of pieces. And so I need to make that. And so if I go, I'm probably going to need uh, some sort of, to use the current age to do it. And I'm guessing this is going to require an ifs command. And we are getting good with AI. I want you to leverage it. So honestly, this may be an example where I pull up whatever preferred AI, and I'm going to see if it can write the command for me here. And so I use Claude. Again, you should be able to do this in here. I don't know why it's an evening. But I may prompt it to say something like, I need help writing an ifs command to convert a client's age to what category they are in relation to Gen Z, millennial, Gen X, baby boomers, ... Can you provide that for me? And some programs will let you upload like Excel files and things like that. I wanted to make sure we can kind of go around and see all this, and does a great job here in terms of writing this if commands for us. And I don't think we have anyone in Gen Alpha or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is let's just go see if this works. So I'm going to copy this. What I probably need to do first is right click, insert. And so I would do something like, let's say something like generation category. And again, if you want something else, you can use that. I'll go into here, I will paste the if command. I like to always look at it. So it has ifs, this. Let's just hit enter and see if it works. Gen alpha, that's not true. Oh, because notice it's using A2, so it's actually using my, like this column here, hence why we always check. And so for us, our data is in C, right? So I'm gonna have to do a quick, just update of all the A's to be C's. I'm just gonna try and honestly just copy paste this. Paste, hit enter. Silent generation, honestly, I don't know as much about that group, but that's perfectly fine. I'll use that. And so then I just make sure that everything kind of looks the way it wants. That looks good. I may also create another variable here where it's something along the lines of, let's say, years to retirement, so I get that distance. So it should just be equals that retirement age minus their current age. I think that may be something interesting. I need to make sure I spell things better. Right. Retirement, something of that nature. So I'll go ahead and save that piece. I think for now that's good on kind of the Excel pieces. Let me do like a quick look. If there are other things you want to create, you can do them here. You could also do them elsewhere. But we have number of cards. The other data set, so that was per person. Notice how this data is like per person per card. So I could do something where I do this. I'll do data, I'll do sort, I'll do that user. All right, so I have multiple counts here, which I think will be nice later because we can count the number of cards. We have different types of cards, which is really nice. I don't know that we'll be able to use anything like this. We have the expiration dates in here. Dates get a little, if you don't like that kind of look, you can again go to the home tab, and you can tell it you want a long date. It may freak out again initially, but it can do that. There are lots of different ways to do it. Short date, something like this, it change it off of that. Just showing you that it's actually per each year. Has chips, has their credit limit, it has the year/pin was last changed. All interesting stuff that I don't think I need to do anything crazy here. So I'm going to save this and we will jump into Tableau next. Let's transition to the Tableau now team. This one is unique in that it's got multiple different data sets. You could honestly copy one sheet, put it in the next, and use it as we had before, but I wanted to show you you can connect multiple ones. You need to find where that's at. All right, so either one works. I'm just going to start with the personal financial. And again, it takes a little bit of time to load here. You should see that information as you go through our new variable that we created here. And then to add a connection, you'll just go add Microsoft Excel and then select the other one. We'll do OK. And again, it's going to think here. We do then need to go ahead and drag these card details out onto users as we kind of think through. And again, remember, we've got two different types of data, right? For our users' data, it's one row per person, whereas for the card details, it's multiple rows per person. So we're going to have to be kind of careful and thoughtful when we go through and think those and utilize those pieces as we go through it. I'm not going to show you a ton of crazy visuals here just because I want to give you the time to work on it. So I'm going to show you just a few more tips and tricks in Tableau as you go through things that you may want to kind of think about and go through. So again, over here on the left, it's broken down by the actual sheet that you had. So it may make sense to go in and, I don't know, have that up so you understand what the different pieces are. We can sort of now maybe transition a little bit into maybe I want to look at the card brand. All right, so I know that I have these and then I want the counts on them. And so lots of different ways to do this. You could just drag card brand and bring it here. It's always going to start as just, okay, you just want the words. Well, that's obviously not what I want. I want to know how many there are. So I could do this drop down, and instead of doing dimension, we could go down to this measure, and we don't want count distinct because I'm guessing it would be one each, but we just count the number of times we see it. And so now we can go through it and see our data a little bit more clear. In terms of formatting and things like that, you would want to make sure that you can see all of this. So maybe expanding your table. I'm doing it kind of the manual way. You could do things where you go up here to the view and could do entire view. I think that's a little bit long. Could do the width, could do the height. It's up to you. This one may make sense to just go through. You may have to go in and format the text so maybe it looks a little bit bigger. So if you click on the text button and you do the drop down here, you can actually go in and maybe we make this 24 and we do apply and we do OK. So I think that is really, really nice. Again, I'm going to rename this. We'll say count card types, something like that. Maybe you would want a percentage breakdown instead. Well, I'm going to right click and duplicate. This will be important later, especially if we want to make different visuals for different things, but I'll duplicate it. And then I'm going to do something where I rename this as a, whoops, double click. We'll do percent card types, something of this nature. And you could honestly build that in this as well, the table. I just wanted to kind of show you different things here. But now, instead of changing things to count, once you already have it in there, you should be able to do this quick table calculations and then different options that you can kind of look through. So running total, difference, percent of total. That seems like something I would want. We can go through. Similar to Excel, if the number is too big to display, you can't see it. You'll want to make this bigger. So on your keyboard, I'm pretty sure for both Mac and PCs, it's Control Shift and then the letter B as in boy. That makes it smaller. If I just do Control B, so Control Shift B should make it bigger. So that may be that I'm making this bigger and it just doesn't fit because I don't have it wide enough. So let's do something like this. We'll go across. And luckily, this thing is already set up as a percent because it knows how to display it. But then you could format this way. And so those are two just informational things that you could use. I know in the actual assignment, I bring up lots of things like total clients, average income, average FICO, debt to income ratio. So that information would be really, really nice. So that one, I may just build a table with a lot of that information in. And we'll have to be a little bit careful here in terms of how we kind of build it. If I'm thinking of total number of clients, I know that I have a name for each client in that user's information. And so I may honestly start with something like that. Where do we have, let's see, card type, brand, user. Let's go back to the Excel and just see. All right, so again, I have it up here. So it doesn't look like it's on that credit card information. It's going to be person. So maybe I'd want to rename that, honestly. But I'll find that either over here. So I'll bring that over. I'm going to do, let's start by doing add all members. And then we'll just do something where we do, again, the drop down. We'll do measure and just change it to count. And then again, I'm going to change this into a table so I can kind of think of it that way. Yeah, and so I have that basic piece. I don't think we're going to want any labels on that. We may need to be kind of creative in how we do it. Maybe let's try this. I'm going to hold control. So if you control and click, it will duplicate things. I'm going to hold control. Maybe I'll put that up here. And then, not sure how I want to change this. Change it back to a dimension because it's just counting the number of times that it sees people, which is not really what we want. So we may have to think about the labeling of that piece because I want to put multiple things on it as we kind of go through. So let's do that. And then we wanted, let's see. So other things I may look at, per capita income, it's reading this as a location, which is not correct. It's a number. And so we're going to do geographic role none, therefore it changes into a number. Then I would do something like default properties. Let's see, number format, and then it was a currency custom. I'm going to do 0 just because I know these that are relatively large. I would do the same thing for, where is the other income variable, debt to income. So something like this, I would do default properties, number format. This one is a percentage as we go through. We'll do okay. So I may actually want to see that on here too. So I'm going to drag that. I'll put that onto text. I don't want to sum that. I again want to do measure average. Yikes, a lot of debt on those kind of pieces. I would want, so I have number of clients, 2,000. I have the average debt to income ratio. What else did we want? Kind of build out as a table here. Average FICO, average income. So that income, I would again want, where are you here? Dun, dun, dun. Yearly income person. So again, I'm going to do default properties. I'll do aggregation. I'll do average, which I should have done for the other one too. Default properties, number format, and we'll do currency custom. Again, we'll go to 0 decimal, something of that nature. Then I'll bring in yearly income. I'll put it on text there. Maybe I also want to bring in total debt, something like that. That one's summed, so I could modify it here. It's just you don't want to do this a lot of different times. And I'll do, I don't want to, I have to go into the format tab to actually do it as a currency. So I'll do currency custom. I'll do, or why it's not letting me, computer's just going a little slow, 0, something like that. Then average FICO score. So again, I'll do this. I'll do default properties. I'll do this one. I'll just do aggregation average. I can bring that here. And then I may be able to label these using measure names. Let's check. I'll bring it up here. Maybe I'll bring it in the rows. There's no measure value because I really want to kind of display what each of these is. Which could be a bit of a problem. Sure how I want to build this. Maybe let's change it to, let's just see what maybe a horizontal bar graph does. Yeah, so it does it like this where it tries to label it. It's trying to put it all on the same scale. So then if I go back and I do here, there we go. So then I have this. If you like it more vertical, you could do something like this. I like this because then what we could do is, I'm just going to do, maybe this would just be like summary stats. For a dashboard, I could have that kind of be across the top. So I'm going to modify the sizing just a little bit. So I'll do this drop down here. I'll show you some quick things. So I'll do custom. I'll do maybe I'll start with letter portrait. And if I decide that we think it would make sense to modify it, we can do that. But what I could do is I could bring these kind of summary stats over here. And it starts as very, very large. If you want to kind of go the way that like Power BI does, we can close this, we can do floating, and then bring that out. I may be a little bit cautious with that just because I think it's a little bit hard to size things as you go through. But it is, I don't know, something you could look at. I don't know why my computer's going so slow here. It does kind of make things a little bit ugly on this piece. I'll show you another little trick here. If it will let me do this. So I'm going to expand this out all the way across. If I have a size that I really like, what you can do, and you can do this with filled as well, but you can do this drop down, and then you should see fit. You could do the fit the width, and then it fits all the way across. You could do the drop down where you do fit entire view, something of that nature, and then kind of play around. And I have a typo here, so I'd want to be careful. Where it's just like, this could just be, honestly, as something as simple as if you double click into it, and if it lets me edit, which again, this thing is slow, we could just do something like client overview, or something like that. Over again, overview, and then I would do like center, apply, okay. Little other kind of tips and tricks that I want to kind of show you. Because I'm not going to build a ton of visuals here, but little things like I would probably center this. I would make the font a little bit bigger. I may like rename these, so you can actually right click on these in this area, or if you want to go back to visuals really, really quickly, something you can do is once you're clicked on a visual in here, is see this go to sheet option. You can click on that and it'll take you directly back here. And usually when you modify it here, it'll go kind of elsewhere as well. But what you can do is you can right click and you can do edit the alias and change this, right? This would just be like, I may do like average debt to income ratio. So you can do little small modifications there. Again, you can make it bigger in this piece. It doesn't work as much in terms of modifications otherwise. So if I go through, come on now, got to be careful where you kind of click. I want to make this a little bit taller, so I may click here and then kind of drag. You can do those kind of pieces. All right, I'll make sure I click off and then hit escape to kind of clear it. So that's one little quick trip quick tip as you go through. So let's see what else I want to show you here. I do want to show you if you wanted like an information icon or something of that nature where you give the user information about the dashboard, but it's not, how do I want to say it? It's not overly out there, or it's not a text box that's taking up kind of space. You can do that. There are a lot of ways to do it. I'm going to show you kind of maybe a couple small ones. The easiest way to do it is to go ahead and create a new sheet. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to do rename. And this will just be something like dashboard information. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to build an icon here and then put stuff in the tooltips. When you hover over it, it looks relatively nice and clean in that sense. All right, so bear with me here as we kind of go through this. The first thing we're actually going to do is just create something so that it can be a shape. And we'll use like an information button or something like that. But the first thing I'm going to do is going to create a new calculated field. So this is really just a placeholder. So I'm going to do analysis, create calculated field. I'm going to title it as like info, something like that. And then I'm just going to type the number 1. Actually, I'm going to do just the number 1. Actually, I want it so it's going to be categorical. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do max of 1. So it's just like the maximum value. I'll do apply, I'll do OK. And then you should see that measure down here created with the equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and bring it out onto columns. And then I'm going to change this to be a shape. And then it starts with just this very, very basic 0, 1. And I'm trying to, if I want to kind of show you, I'll bring in other shapes. Okay, so I'm going to make it big really quick. So I'm just going to do standard entire view. I don't care about the 1, 0. So I'm going to right click and just uncheck show header here. And then I'm going to bring info down to shape just so, okay, yeah, right here. Then you should see this shape over here. So if you double click on this, you should see a bunch of different ones in here, which I don't think there's any like really good information ones. Maybe KPIs, but it's just yes, no kind of pieces. So you can actually bring in other shapes. Now you don't have to. If you find one here that you really like, go ahead and use it. But I at least want to show you this trick. And so on a PC, what you're going to do is you're going to first off find where this Tableau repository is. So your search, anywhere you're on that, you could start with just documents, wherever that is. You may be able to search for my Tableau repository as well as you go through. But you should see this My Tableau repository. So if you go in here, there's going to be lots of different ones, and then one of these is going to be shapes, and you'll see the different ones that we show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to do a new folder, and I'm going to do like info shape, and then I need to go find one that I like. So I'm going to pull up. I'm going to pull up here, and then I'm just going to search. So I need an information button, and it needs to be a PNG or else it's going to look really, really clunky. So I'm going to go to images. I'm going to try and find one that I kind of like. I like this one, and you'll want to see kind of the background here. It should look like this, and sometimes this is just kind of trial and error that you have to go through. All right, so what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to right click, I'm going to do save image as, and then I'm going to find that folder. So I again have to go to my documents, just here, my Tableau repository, and then you find shapes, and then find my info shape, and I'm just going to put, see, this is a JPEG. I'll kind of show you what I mean when I do info here. So I saved it in there. If I go back into this, I need to reload shapes, and then my info shape is here. Notice you see the background on there bugging me. How dare they lie to us about that? And it may be that I kind of took it off of here. Let's see, I'll save this image as, it's again a JPEG. So I'm going to pause and find one that's a PNG. All right, so I found this one here. Try and do again info, something of that nature. Then I'll go back to Tableau. I will reload the shapes. I'm going to do apply, do OK, and you still see that. Let me try one more time. Okay, so I finally found one, this minimalist one here. So again, save image as, and so you can see I put it already in there, and you don't see that checkered background. So once you get one like that, you could honestly have AI generate one for you. Just go in here. I'm going to do reload shapes. I'll go to info shape and I'll do this. I'll do apply. I'll do OK. Then what I'll do is I'll go into the tooltip and I'll put like data source, and then enter info. How to use, and then like and enter info, where you would then type all that stuff in if you really want. I don't really want it to show command buttons on the top, and so I'll just do OK. And then when I go back to dashboard 1, I could bring in that icon, right? So now I have that dashboard information. I could bring that in as floating or tiled. Maybe I'll bring it up here, something like this. And then again, I'm not going to want the title. This, apply OK. And then I'm just going to maybe fit this so that it looks a little bit kind of nice. And then I'm going to do this drop down. I'm going to do fit, entire view. You can mess around with like the shapes around this. So if you click on it and then do layout, you can actually mess around with like the outer padding and stuff on it, which right now it looks relatively small. May do dashboard information. So you can kind of see the hierarchy that I have on this thing. So I'll do info. Computer's again going slow. Interesting. So I wonder if I pull this thing down. All right, so we may resize it from the actual visual. So what I'll do is I'm going to click. I'm going to show you a couple other small things. I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I'm just going to resize this. Sometimes you'll get something where I'll just show you with an example, like I'll show a dashboard title, which this thing's floating, which is what it's kind of causing issues. I don't know what this secondary thing is. Oh, it brings out a legend. I forgot about that. So we're going to delete the legend. I'm going to click in here, or double click in here, and just whatever I want the title to be. Again, so I'm going to do Control A, title example. I'll do over here, apply, OK. But if you were to go in, do the drop down, do format title, and you end up changing the background, it can cause all sorts of issues, especially if you have like a background image on this. So what I would do is I would go back to this visual, I would right click and format, and then you should see like your fill here on the worksheet, just do none. And then if you go back to the dashboard, you see this. Now it's black and you're like, oh no, like I can't see anything. So you go back to here, and what you do is you would want to bring over this tab. So I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to bring it up to color. And now it makes it blue. And you can change the color if you want. But then as you kind of see there, it's blue. And I don't love how that looks. I'm going to fit entire view again. And then I want to make this a little bit bigger. I would probably go back into here and just do maybe just Control B. I'm just making it a little bit bigger that way. So you may have to kind of tinker around with it. I don't love, we should be able to modify a little bit of the padding to fill this shape so it's a little bit bigger. See, I'm messing with the padding, which is causing it to have all sorts of problems. And my computer is going slow, which I hate. Take this down to 0. I should just do Control A on that piece. So you may just have to kind of resize this manually. And there you go, that one looks a little bit bigger. So now you can hover over and you kind of see that data source as you go through, which is really clean, really nice. And then it's just intuitive, right? I don't have to kind of worry about it on those kind of pieces. I do want to then show, maybe I'll save. So let me save here and see if I can speed this up a little bit. So I'm going to save this locally. All right, so I saved it. I'm going to maybe I'll just bring out the card types. So I'm going to do dashboard, go back to here. I'll bring out the card. I'm going to actually change this to be tiled. I'll do card types just so it kind of fits a little. So again, it's going very, very slow. I'm going to go in and just get rid of the black because it's causing considerable problems, it looks like. Come on now. Format title, I'll do none, so it's a little bit cleaner. Go through, and then this one I'll do the drop down. I will then do fit the width so that it kind of has the same stuff. And then I want to kind of show something where it's another alternative to this, but you can actually like show and hide different things. So I'm going to hit escape, and you can add multiple filters onto these. And so you could technically use each visual as a filter. Like I could hover over this and see this. So if you click on this and you just click on the little filter icon, it should, there you go, it's using it as a filter. So then if I click on this, you'll see it kind of filter that visual and go through here and here and here. So it talks about the various ones. Another way is I'm going to turn that filter off by clicking it on that piece. It's a little bit kind of faster. What I could do would be something along the lines of adding a filter that I then want to apply to both of these. And so I kind of want to look at this by like retired and non-retired. So I'm going to go back on a sheet and I don't have that variable yet. And so I'm going to actually create a calculated field using that years to retirement variable that we had before. And so I'll do it in here. So instead of doing it in Excel, so I'll do analysis, I'll do create calculated field, and then I'm going to do something like, I don't know, retirement category. Oops. Category, and I'll just do an if command here. So if, and then I'll hit enter, and then it's years to retirement. It is greater than 0. Then I want to use, it's a single quote, I believe. So retired, single quote. And then that's it, right? So else I want non-retired. So I'll do else tab and then single quote, non-retired or working or something like that. Again, whatever you want, which there's the spell check, sorry. Retired. Then close that quote, and then I'll do end. And then hopefully it works. I'll do apply, okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drag it up to filter, and then I'll have retired, non-retired, and do apply, okay. You could do it over here on the right if you really wanted. I'm gonna show one other kind of trick at the same time. Maybe if we wanted to filter based upon, what's something that has lots of different categories? Maybe lets people do that. I don't really want to do, you could do card type or brand. It's going to be very, very similar. Expires, address. Let's do maybe, oh, generational category. Yeah, let's do that. Let's drag that to filter. We'll do all, do apply, do okay. And then what we can do is on our dashboard, we can actually do this drop down and we can find that filters tab and we can put all of these on here, right? So I want to put generation category and it's going to put it up here, and it's kind of ugly early on, especially because I'm going to make this thing floating or filter just because I hate floating. Unless it's like a legend. So I'll do this drop down. I'm going to turn off floating, and it's going to take a second. It's going to fit down over here. Then what I'm going to do is I'll do this drop down here, and I'm going to do filters, and I'm going to also do retirement category. All right, and then I want to apply these to all of them, right? And so I'll do this drop down here. Come on, and I'll do apply to worksheets. You could do all using this data. I like, again, to have that control, so I would do selected and make sure they're on all of them. We do okay. And then here I'll do the same thing, drop down, then I will do apply to worksheets, selected, and I'll have them all. I'll do okay. And then what I may do is I may have like a section for these. I'm going to move this around a little bit. So maybe I'm going to do, maybe I'll put it here, and then I'll have Come on now. Actually, I'm missing one thing that I should have shown you all. Let's see if I can do it anyways, though. So I'll click on this. I'm going to try and move it so it's like right next to this. I'm going to actually close this really quick. Come on now. I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this horizontal container. Actually, I'm going to drag vertical container. No, I'll do horizontal. I think that makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to click on horizontal container, escape because my computer's bugging me. I don't know why it's put one in here. Right, so let's drag horizontal container. Let's see if I can get this thing to work for us. Right, so I'll drag it here. And then I'm going to drag our generational category filter into it. If your computer is going as slow as mine, I would save and retry here. I'm about to give it 10 more seconds before I do that. I just don't want to close my recording. So I'm going to click this, I'm going to drag it up. Then I'm going to go back to my card brand, do the drop down. Then I'll do another filter. And then I'll get my retirement category. Again, it's going to put it over here. Oh, nice. It put it up here in this. And so you can't actually click on this. I think if we do the drop down, we could distribute contents evenly to make it kind of even. Then again, I don't love these. I also don't love that if you, so let's say I change this and I do the drop down and I do, even if I do a multi-values drop down, I'll do the same thing here where it's drop down, multi-values drop down, where if you kind of look, you do it, and if you click it, each time you do it, it updates, and it's a little bit slow. So what we can do is we can actually make this a special type to just allow them to apply it. And so if you include this drop down here, there's going to be an option for, so to help with performance, you can do this drop down, you can do customize, and you can do the show apply button, and it looks like nothing happened, but what then you do this drop down is, right, you have these where you select and then you apply and it goes through all of those. So I really like that kind of piece. If you're also thinking about other things that Tableau can do, so I'm gonna select layout here and make sure that I have my tiled horizontal container, which no way, I don't want it to be the whole thing. So this is showing kind of the hierarchy of where things are. Let me see here for this horizontal container. Let's see if I click on the vertical. Okay, so there's the vertical container. So I want to be able to click on it. Then you can do this cool thing, and this actually works with visuals as well, where you can do this add show hide button. And it's going to think, and you're going to see somewhere this like X pops up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you want to be kind of careful with it because it doesn't work, like nothing works with it just yet. But what you can do is you can do here, and then you can edit the button. And so right now it's connected to that horizontal container that we have. And then when it's shown, it shows this image, or you could change it to text and be like, so when the item is shown, you could put something like hide filters. And then when the item is hidden, you want to do like show filters. And you could do stuff on the tooltip to help with that. But if you do apply, it's going to go. You do have to do a little bit of kind of careful formatting this piece. And then what happens is if I go into presentation mode, it becomes kind of, instead of a navigation button, it's a show hide piece. So you could do hide filter. So I click it, notice the filters go away. So if you wanted to just make the filters an optional thing, you could do that for each of them. Now you have that kind of play around. So you could put those filters at the top, put them at the bottom, and you kind of hide things to make it a little bit cleaner. And again, you can do that with actual visuals, right? You can do this where you have the drop down. If you like, I've seen some people where I'm going to go into this and I'll just click the drop down. I'm going to do the edit the button. come on, edit button, where they can do an image and you bring it in. So you actually have, and again, you have like a show and a hide. So you bring in an image that's like something like a hide or collapse or something of that kind of nature. If you don't and you just use the image, I would at least use something for the tooltip to guide them, because what happens is it's kind of, you get these 3 lines. That means things are hidden, you get more information, where again, you can test it by doing, I think it's control click or alt click when you're not in presentation mode, and it does those pieces. So I really like kind of show hide. I've seen some people, instead of using the information like this, they'll use a show hide button where what they'll do, and you have to be careful with this on kind of the hierarchy, they'll bring in just the dashboard, and instead of like building something like that where you hover over and see it, because this is just a hover, but if you wanted to like click and show like statistics and stuff of that nature, you could bring over a horizontal container, a vertical container, kind of like we did, or if you just want it to be text, you can bring over something like this. I would not do tiled. Let me do this. I mean, you could do tiled, but if you wanted it to be overlapping something or like an overview, like you could bring text here, something along the lines of, this is where I'd have a key insight or something. You can see how slow my computer is going. It's hurting. And then you can do a little bit of kind of formatting in this piece. It may, again, be a little bit easier to format not in a text box here, but you can make this black. Maybe we make it, I don't know, Tableau bold. Again, I know I have the typo in there. And you do okay. You can right click, I believe, once you're in it. Come on now. Yeah, and my computer's just going a little bit slow, which we're almost at the end because I'm just showing you kind of tips and tricks here. So I have this where you should be able to right click inside of it and then do format the text object. You can mess with the alignment, edit text. I'm not sure how to hit, like how you would do the background on this piece. I would have to kind of play around with it. But you could have then this be the show hide. So you would do this drop down and you would do, where are we at, show hide button, same thing, like see description or see overview or something of that kind of nature here. But again, you do have to do the edit, the button, and stuff like that. So that is what it's showing, the button style. So when the item is shown, like hide text, when the item is hidden, click to learn more, something of that kind of nature. Try to think of where else. So I would do apply, do okay. And again, it starts off really small, so you have to, again, play around and kind of format this, where again, you could control or alt click, I believe. It's alt click to hide it. And that's oversee. It's just, you got to be careful with the hierarchy, because sometimes if you put that, let me see here, if I do control, that's alt click. Come on. If you put this text box here, like overneath, like or over top of a filter, sometimes it reduces the functionality of it. So if this stupid thing will respond to me here. So if you did something like this, and then even if you hide the text, it's sometimes like I'm trying to click and the filters won't work because it's trying to click on top of that piece. You just have to be a little bit cautious with your placement. Sometimes it will work. If it doesn't, you can always go to the layout and move the hierarchy in terms of like where things are located on the dashboard. You can kind of see those pieces. So you can move stuff around here on those kind of pieces. So I think you'd be able to move forward and back. It's kind of messing around with the location. We'd have to be kind of cautious of where we put it. Let me think. The last thing I'll kind of show is if you're going to do, if you want to use different colors, I don't know why you would do this, but for different, like if I wanted to use different colors here, so I'm going to take count card type or card brand. I'm just going to copy that and put it on the color. Actually, let's undo. I'm going to do my card brand categorical. I can pick it. So if I do this here, if you were going to do that over here and use color, when you change it in one place, so watch, I'll make discover pink here. I'll do apply, I'll do okay. It will automatically change it here as well. If you want like a different color scheme across simpler categories, what you have to do is you'll do this drop down and then you duplicate it. Similar to like we did with the filters last time, but then I'll take this off. You can drop the colors here, and then you could modify and do different colors that way. All right, so this is hideous. I want you all to kind of play around with it. The goal of this was just to show you a couple things or a lot of new things. You don't have to utilize them. I would. It makes your life a little bit easier, at least like the information piece, but showing how to like connect your filters. You only have to add them one way or add them on the dashboard. Again, to get to your visuals really quickly, going to that piece. So you're going to want an exploratory dashboard and then an explanatory dashboard. Again, I would link them with buttons or in a story. There should only be between one, maybe two visuals in that explanatory. I wouldn't go too crazy with the exploratory one either. Maybe 3 to 4 at most. And I'd rather it look nice, if that kind of makes sense. And so even here where this information button is, I would probably play around with it to match a little bit nicer. Okay, well, I'll leave this for you. In terms of, again, what you're going to do when you save it, make sure I see the exploratory dashboard first and then goes to the explanatory dashboard, however you want to kind of see it, and make sure like things fit. I'm fine if we scroll like up and down. I just don't want to go up and down and left to right, if that kind of makes sense. Okay, so let me know if you have any help, and I look forward to what you can kind of create from this one.